Mic check. Testing. 1, 2. Check. Testing sound. Let's try this one. Check, check. Mic check. This one's good. All right, welcome to game number 3 of Flat Track Fever 2025. We are here to see Nuclear Freeze, Roller Derbies, NF Bombs versus Eves of Destruction. Starting off in Navy, we've got number 1111, Joe Means Joe, 14, Cakes, 22, Sriracha, 30, Rip, 315, Toast and Jam, 4242, Smash and Dash, 4468, Buns, 476, Bell, 56, Mac Daddy, 713, Rennie, 75, Bam, number 8, Dame, 87, Betty Davis Eyes, 89, M-Ski Hammer, number 911, Killerella. And I will read off the Eves roster after this first jam. We are underway. Joe Means Joe squaring off against Goose to get us started. Both teams locking down so far. Joe Means Joe getting a bit of a push to the front. Goose working hard at the back of the pack. NF Bombs have a strong hold on that jammer, taking them to the inside of the track, and it'll be Joe Means Joe as our first lead jammer of the game. Goose still working hard against this tough formation from the NF Bombs. Pivot moving in to provide a bit of assistance. Looks like Wife of Wrath, if I'm not mistaken. Indeed it is. Eves now locking down on Joe Means Joe as the star pass occurs. New jammer record will be Wife of Wrath, and Joe Means Joe secures all 4 points and calls that one off. Skinny in white today, number 00, Fanny in the pack. Number 02, Bazooka Langley. 115, Silver Lightning Striker. 1166, Wife of Wrath. 21, Charlie Hearse. 250, Bugsy. 27, Honey Crueler. Number 4, Terminator. 452, The Frenzy. 505, Flawless. 55, Soda Pressed. 5654, Goose. 7, Champagne. 73, Tombstone. And 78, Jerry Con. Next up, we've got Mac Daddy and Charlie Hearse, our jammers. Mac Daddy at the top of the pack, just has one left to beat. Lightning Striker not going to make it an easy feat to accomplish, but does pick up a penalty for that maneuver. Mac Daddy first out of the pack, but Charlie Hearse is not far behind. Mac Daddy taking a bit of a tumble to the infield. Might have been a bit of friendly fire on that one, courtesy of Bell, but no harm, no foul. Score still sitting at 4 points to none. Looks like Smash and Dash taking the star next for the NF Bombs. And it looks like Soda Pressed. It is Soda Pressed. Thank you, scoreboard. Jam number 3 underway. Soda Pressed working against M-Ski Hammer, getting to the middle of the pack, greeted by that formation from the NF Bombs. Smash and Dash working furiously, trying to hop up that inside line. Doesn't quite work out. Gonna try the outside. Soda Pressed at the top of the pack now, getting bumped out, looks like by Betty Davis Eyes. Recycled, but not too far. Players keeping things nice and close to the pack. Soda Pressed now one left to beat. That's M-Ski Hammer. The no pack called. That forces Soda Press to be released, and Eves of Destruction have their first lead jam of the game. Looks like a bit of a power jam. Smash and Dash taking a quick trip to our penalty box. Soda Press now back into the pack. Eves opting to let Soda Press push with all of their might, and right up the middle, it will be 4 points and calling it. Jammer for NF Bombs currently standing in that box, so that means 10 seconds or less. Quick little power start for the Eves of Destruction here, who secured 4 points in that last jam. Sending out Honey Cruller to start us off with our first power jam. First power start, sorry. Killerella drawing first hit on that end. A nice low hit there. Honey Cruller managing to stay inbounds, though. That gives Dame and Rip enough time to catch up. No pack called, but NF Bombs somehow retain Honey Cruller with them. Smash and Dash now back into the fray. A little bump out there, and the bridge back. Looks like a Bugsy there, escorting Smash and Dash just behind our pivot line. Honey Cruller still trying to find some room to work with. Fanny in the pack moving in to try and split apart this formation from the NF Bombs, but NF Bombs just seem to rotate right around that. Killerella moving in to get Smash and Dash through. Smash and Dash trying to fight against that pack, but looks like no points awarded in that jam. Score still sitting at 6 points for the NF Bombs, 4 for the Eves of Destruction. NF Bomb sending out Sriracha with the bomb. Not a star, it's a bomb. The explosion is kind of a star, though. Like a funky star. And it'll be Jerry Con for Eves of Destruction's A-Team. Sitting at 5 versus 5, full roller derby action. Our penalty box currently sitting empty. Jerry Con quick to get to the top of the pack, but a little bit of a tumble there. That allows NF Bombs to put up a strong 2 formation. Bun's doing a good job there, keeping their teammates in play. Unfortunately, Rennie sent to our penalty box. Hard fought against Emski Hammer there, but Jerry Con will be out first and our lead jammer of record. Coming in a huge smash into the pack, but the whistle was called. Jerry Con seemed to feel it might have been a little bit of a oopsie on their part. Sriracha now pushing her way to turn number 2. Eves of Destruction not going to make this an easy pass for the Bombs to acquire. NF Bombs now moving in to try and split apart these blockers from Eves of Destruction. Eves also losing the Frenzy temporarily to our penalty box. Sriracha now free of the pack and ready to score some more points. First points for the Bombs since jam number 2. Our pack hunkering down on the close straightaway there. Jerry Con fighting against a fearsome 4-wall from the NF Bombs. Almost taking a hit out, but one hand out of bounds. But does pick up that trip to the penalty box once again, so that'll leave Sriracha out on her lonesome to score all of the points. Eves putting up a formidable 2-wall formation, now 3 as they're joined by Champagne. And we come to our 2-minute conclusion. NF Bombs picking up 8 points in that jam, bringing them up to a total of 14. Eves of Destruction sitting at 4. Another power start here for the NF Bombs. They're sending out Joe Means Joe with the star. Joe Means Joe taking a quick tumble there, but quick to get back on her feet. Nice clear on the inside by Rip. Looks like it'll be the no pass, no point though, so lead still able to be acquired by Jerry Khan. Jerry Khan now released from our penalty box. Looks like we'll go the full 2 minutes, as Jerry Khan opting to remove the star, plan out their next move. Eves losing Bugsy to our penalty box. Joe Means Joe still fighting against that 2-wall from the Eves of Destruction. 4 points in the pocket as Jerry Khan escapes from these blockers with the star in hand. Looks like Joe Means Joe able to call it off, but I don't believe there was a lead jammer in that last jam, possibly. We don't know.
Are you saying Jerry Khan or Jerry Khan?
Is it Jerry Khan?
Jerry Khan. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, so is it Penny Krugman?
Yeah.
Okay, I was like, is it Kroller or Kohler?
And we have ourselves our first official review. It's either an official review, official timeout. My apologies. First official timeout of the game. Huge thank you to our sponsors. We've got Full Mobility Chiropractic sponsoring our jam line, Bad Girlfriend Skate Shop sponsoring our pivot line, and Genuine sponsoring our penalty box, currently occupied by 2 blockers for Eves of Destruction, and possibly an additional. Can't quite tell. Too many bodies in the way. NF Bombs sitting at 22 points. Eves of Destruction still holding strong at 6. 20 minutes left in the first half. All right, so it looks like NF Bombs losing Joe Means Joe at the conclusion of that jam. If I were to hazard a guess, it would be because of the successful call-off, even though there was no lead awarded. That is Goose, our lone jammer on the track for the Eves of Destruction. Quick to get to the top of that pack, but Deem not going to make it easy for lead to be acquired. Looks like our penalty box currently sitting full of skaters. A slew of penalties in this jam. That leaves Cakes on her lonesome, the lone line of defense out there. Able to slow down Goose just a half step, but hey, you know what? When you're the only person on the track, you do what you can. Joe Means Joe now back into the fray. Just a revolving door in our penalty box at the moment. Eves of Destruction able to answer with 8 points, bringing them up to 14. NF Bombs still sitting at 22. So a few skaters in our penalty box at the moment. I'm sorry, I think the Bombs side of the penalty box is full of blockers. That's right. This is not something you see every day. We have 2 blockers standing and 2 blockers sitting. So the entire blocking line for the NF Bombs currently sitting in that beautiful penalty box sponsored by Genuine. If this has ever been on your Derby bingo card, now is the time to have a drink or something. So NF Bombs calling themselves a timeout. You know, not a bad strategy at the moment. Oh, looks like Bombs will regain Dane Tamer. Maybe. Looks like refs are still discussing, which is fair. Looks like it'll be Charlie Hurst and Mac Daddy, our next jammers of record. I see some signals from the penalty box. Looks like Rennie might have 1 second remaining on that penalty, at which point Dame Tamer will have to report to that penalty box once a seat becomes available. Dame on her lonesome at the moment, but... And yes, Rennie now released from that penalty box, so... A nice buddy for Dame. Oh, Mac Daddy being sent to our penalty box as well. So power jam for Eves of Destruction and Charlie Hurst, who is in full control. Beautiful apex hop by Charlie Hurst. Our micro pack just moving back there. Rennie getting a little tap on Charlie Hurst, and it was just enough to make loser balance. Bridging back to the jam line. And it looks like Rennie will report to our penalty box once again for that maneuver. Cakes at the top of the pack, trying to get a piece of Charlie Hurst. Just a half step, but Charlie Hurst out with 4 more on the board. Brings us to a tie game. Mac Daddy now free from their penalty box as well. Beautiful stepping around the outside by Charlie Hurst. But just a tiniest step of that toe stop on the outside. That will be a cut track penalty for the Eves of Destruction. And F-Bombs now have a power start. Eves of Destruction picking up 12 points in that jam, bringing them up to 26. Our first lead change of the game. Sorry, 25 points. Still a lead change. Looks like it'll be Smash and Dash being sent out with the bomb for this power start. Nice little clear off the line by Enski Hammer. Eves of Destruction quick to form up the front, but Smash and Dash smashes her way through that pack and secures lead for the Bombs. Pack at a standstill at the top of the apex. Bombs moving in to try and make this an easier pass for Smash and Dash to acquire. Looks like last line of defense is number 02, Bazooka Langley. Holding Smash and Dash up just for a few seconds. Hey, that's all you need. Bombs now fighting furiously against Charlie Hurst. Charlie Hurst using those lateral movements, hopping on all those toe stops. I feel like I haven't seen Charlie Hurst go through this pack on wheels just yet. It's all been toe stops, but hey, whatever you gotta do. Smash and Dash smashing her way through that pack, securing another 4 points and bringing the NF Bombs back into the lead with 30 points to 21. Looks like we're going to have ourselves another official timeout. Looks like refs just double checking the points from the last jam, making sure everything's tallied correctly while it's still fresh in their memories. Just over 16 minutes to go still in this first half of game number 3. After this, we're going to see Rocky View taking on Calgary and the Glenmore Reservoir Dogs versus the Calgary All-Stars to round off tonight's gameplay at 7 o'clock. Jam underway. We've got Sriracha with the star for the NF Bombs, quickly picking up that lead advantage. And that looks like Soda Pressed for Eves of Destruction. Not far through that pack. Quick pass along that outside line. Sriracha keeping things nice and clean and legal. 4 points going to the NF Bombs total. Quick hit it and quit it jam as we head into jam number 11. Looks like it'll be Joe Means Joe on the jam line for the NF Bombs and Honey Cruller for Eves of Destruction. One blocker apiece sitting in our penalty box. So 4 versus 4 derby, not too bad. Emski Hammer there with the final knock to the outside and will bridge Honey Cruller back the long way. Joe Means Joe almost seeing some daylight there, but will acquire a cut track penalty, so it'll be a power jam for Honey Cruller and the Eves of Destruction. Betty Davis eyes the last line of defense, but Honey Cruller is out. Lead advantage goes to the Eves of Destruction. Eves moving in to try and help Honey Cruller get through this pack. Betty Davis eyes that first line of defense. Not going to make it easy. Quick to rejoin that 4 wall from NF Bombs. And it'll be Betty Davis eyes holding back Honey Cruller just long enough for the NF Bombs to make a beautiful formation. Joe Means Joe now fresh off the penalty, star in hand, gets through that last blocker just as it is called off by Honey Cruller. 4 points picked up, bringing us to 25-34. Heading into jam number 12, we've got Mac Daddy for the NF Bombs and Jerry Can for Eves of Destruction, but not before a timeout. Looks like it'll be a team timeout called on behalf of the NF Bombs. Don't forget, we've got Full Mobility Chiropractic on site to treat skaters and officials. Be sure to book your appointment today. Offering a flat track fever special, which includes $50 treatments and custom-made orthotics for $300. You don't want to pass up these amazing prices. That is our jam line sponsor, Full Mobility Chiropractic. Don't forget to check out the merch tables, teams selling their various merchandise wares. Pick up a shirt and help cheer on your favorite team. Our genuine sponsored penalty box currently sitting empty, so it'll be full 5 versus 5 as we head into jam number 12. Still have Mac Daddy and I believe Jerry Can, our jammers of record. Hey, I was right. Mac Daddy finding room to run on that outside and will be awarded lead status for the NF Bombs. Jerry Can getting a bump to that outside and the star in hand, a quick little pass. Our new jammer of record will be number 73, Tombstone. Tombstone, unfortunately, not getting the opportunity to score this time. 4 points picked up by the NF Bombs in a quick hit it and quit it jam. Smash and dash, hugging that outside line and gets through for lead advantage. Goose, though not far behind, has 1 left to beat, and that is Killarella at the top of the pack. Killarella able to get so low that her hips almost trip up these jammers. Bombs now moving in to try and get Smash and dash through. Smash and dash able to pick up 2 points in that jam. That'll bring the NF Bombs up to an even 40 against the Eves of Destruction's 25. Eves held scoreless the last couple of jams, sending out Charlie Hurst to see if they can change that statistic, squaring off against Sriracha. NF Bombs moving back on Charlie Hurst. Charlie Hurst, though, able to capitalize on the conglomerate of bodies along that pack. Lead goes to the Eves of Destruction. Sriracha now removing the star, planning out the next move. Beautiful star pass on that outside. Emski Hammer with a nice little spin move. Gets the star free. Charlie Hurst picking up all 4 points and calling it off before Emski can do any damage. First points for the Eves in a few jams now. I don't have the exact number, so I'm not going to. I'm not going to make up a lie. Looks like Soda Pressed and Joe Means Joe squaring off at our full mobility chiropractic jam line. And jam number 15 will be underway. Soda Pressed at the top of the pack. That's Toast and Bell, the last lines of defense. And it looks like a Bell being sent to our genuine penalty box for that maneuver. Joe Means Joe with 2 left to beat at the top of the pack. Now 3 as we come around turn number 2. Eves able to put up a strong 3 formation, and it looks like Soda Press now being sent to our genuine penalty box. So power jam in favor of the Bombs, and we will go the full 2 minutes. Bombs positioning themselves along that inside line. Joe Means Joe taking a hit to that outside and bridged the long way back by Wife of Wrath. Joe now coming to the top of that second apex. A quick moving pack here. Joe Means Joe starting to pick off blockers one by one, pushing them to their out of play point. 1 left to beat, though. That is the Frenzy. Not making it an easy 4 points to pick up, but Joe Means Joe does pick them up. Soda Press now squaring off against Killerella. Killerella able to slow down Soda Press just enough for Toast and Jam to capture. And now Joe Means Joe doing some little blocker versus blocker action. Soda Press trying to kind of hop that apex, doing some fancy footwork along that inside line, but does go out of bounds just enough to force that recycle. Quick footwork by Joe gets her through for 4 more points, going to the NF Bombs. Soda Press, though, not far behind. 4 of their own for the Eves. And our jam comes to its natural conclusion. Huge jam for both teams. 12 points picked up by the NF Bombs, 8 for the Eves, bringing our score to 52 to 37. Looks like Mac Daddy and Honey Crueler on our full mobility chiropractic jam line. Mac Daddy now 2 left to beat, taking a bit of a tumble, and that allows the Eves of Destruction's blockers to put up a nice formation at the front of that pack. Jammers getting knocked around here. Honey Crueler will be out first, but Mac Daddy only a few steps behind. Honey Crueler getting the instructions to call it off, but it looks like Mac Daddy may have snuck in a couple points, so it'll be a 2-2 jam, and we will set things up all over for jam number 17. Looks like it'll be Smash and Dash versus Goose for jam number 17. 1 blocker in the box for the Eves of Destruction, so slight pack advantage goes to the Bombs. Smash and Dash quick to get out with that lead advantage. Goose taking a nice little Jersey whip around that outside. Opting to remove the star, plan out their next move, but Emski Hammer not going to make it easy for them to even approach that formation from the Bombs. Goose getting bumped to that infield, and it'll be Rennie with the drawback. Rennie and Emski duo at the back of that pack there. The Frenzy trying to reach out and grab that star cover. And it looks like a cut track will be assessed to Goose. So Power Jam goes to the NF Bombs as Smash and Dash puts up another 4 points. NF Bombs keeping that pack definition with them. Fanny in the pack fighting with all of their might. Sorry, Bazooka Langley fighting with all of their might at the back there. Smash and Dash assessing the situation, taking a moment and opting to call that jam with Goose standing in our genuine penalty box. So that'll mean 10 seconds or less for the power start of jam number 18. Ew, there's debris on the track. Looks like we're gonna have ourselves an official timeout. Don't forget to check out Nerd Skate Shop, only here Friday and Saturday. They sell gear and accessories. Having issues with your skates? Go see Projectile for any skate maintenance needs. Because we all know at the end or towards a tournament, our skates start to give up on life. It's nobody's fault. These things happen. Rolling whistle, usually a good sign that things are about to get back underway. Looks like it'll be Sriracha on this brief power start. Eve's of Destruction holding strong at the top of that pack. Eve's doing a great job of keeping that pack definition. And Goose able to sneak out of that penalty box, almost past all of the blockers for the NF Bombs, but Rip was all over that. Sriracha now our lead jammer of record. Goose not far behind. Pack starting to pick up speed as we come around turn number 4, back across that full mobility jammer line. Sriracha securing 2 points and calling it to a conclusion, icing the Eves of Destruction for that last jam. Bombs now sitting at 67 points to the Eves 39. With just over 5 minutes left in the first half. Looks like our pack doing a little old school pivot line start. That is a Bad Girlfriend Skate Shop pivot line to be exact. That gives our jammers room to run, and I'm not sure that's what you want to give Joe Means Joe and Charlie Hurst, but nevertheless, blockers able to capture their respective jammers. Charlie Hurst trying to dance on that outside line on those toe stops once again. Bombs able to lock down, and it looks like Joe Means Joe will be our lead jammer of record for jam number 19. Genuine penalty box slowly filling up on the Eves of Destruction side. NF Bombs able to keep their gameplay relatively clean for the last little while. Almost unchallenged on that inside line. Joe Means Joe is through for a quick 4 points. Quick little star stash will get the star out for Charlie Hurst and the Eves of Destruction. Joe Means Joe securing another 3 points for a grand total of 7 in that jam, bringing the Bombs total up to 74. Don't forget to stop by the MyoLab table, on-site treatment for massage and chiro. Make sure to book your appointment at their booth as soon as you can. Eves of Destruction calling themselves a team timeout. Don't forget to check out Untamed Fernie, designs made for the busy woman who wants to look and feel fabulous. Untamed focuses on creating everyday clothing that is practical and comfortable while also being fun, flattering, and unique. Each piece is enhanced by a special touch by collaborating with local artists, printing their artwork onto fabric, and incorporating their designs into the creations. That is Untamed Fernie. Doing a little track maintenance here, and it looks like we're about to get underway once again. Jam number 20. Soda Pressed squaring off against Mac Daddy. Mac Daddy, a twist of the hips on the outside. The no pack call forces the Eves to let Mac Daddy go. Lead advantage goes to the NF Bombs. Soda Press getting knocked to that outside, but two blockers from the NF Bombs reporting to that penalty box. So 2 versus 4 for blocking contingents. Soda Pressed through with that initial pass. Mac Daddy fighting with all of her might, does secure 3 points before calling it off. So Eves of Destruction with a slight pack advantage as we head into jam number 21. 2 blockers from the NF Bombs currently sitting in our genuine penalty box, but looks like they are now standing, so that means 10 seconds or less. Bombs doing a fabulous job of holding down the fort with 2 blockers. Smash and Dash fighting her way along that outside line and does secure lead jammer for the Bombs. Jerry Can fighting with all their might against Rip and does get through for that initial pass. Smash and Dash now through for the full 4 points. Smash and Dash looking towards the bench for instructions and will opt to keep this jam going. If I were to hazard a guess, it would be to empty out that penalty box from the blue side. Rip now, our lone blocker for the NF Bombs. Able to keep Jerry Can camped out there at, looks like, the top of the apex there. Just past turn number 3. Jerry Can, though, does get out with full 4 points. Smash and Dash taking a tumble to that infield and does call that to a conclusion, but not before getting 7 points for the NF Bombs. Bombs now sitting at 84 points to the Eves 43. And it looks like we've got time for one more jam in this first half, but not before an official review. Brought to you by the Eves of Destruction. Don't forget to check out Derby Girl Chocolates, fundraising for Team Canada Juniors who are heading to Australia this summer. Fun derby and non-derby themed homemade chocolates help support our junior team skaters get to Australia, which I hear is fairly expensive to get to. And there's lots of spiders, ew. So it looks like our refs now delivering the results of this first official review. I will try to bring you those details as soon as possible, likely after this halftime. I lied. I'll bring them to you now. So Eves of Destruction, we're looking for a penalty to be called for failure to reform, but it does look to the refs like it was reformed as soon as it was called, so the no call will stand. Eves will not retain their review. Heading into jam number 22, we've got Goose jamming against Sriracha. Sriracha at the top of that pack. Toast and Jam able to slow down Goose just enough to bring her back behind that Bad Girlfriend's roller skates pivot line. Both jammers currently being held up by some beautifully strong blocking contingents. Making their way around this track inch by inch. Penalty being assessed, and it looks like it is on Goose, so it'll be a power jam scenario for the Eves of Destruction. Sriracha taking full advantage of the blockers not quite paying attention to dance around that outside line and pick up lead for the Bombs. Looks like this will be our last jam of this first half. Sriracha taking a trip to the infield, bridge back the long way by Bugsy. Sriracha with one left to beat at the top of that pack. Coming around turn number 4 does put all 4 points on the board. Beautiful apex hop by Sriracha. Another 4-point pass as Goose is released from the penalty box, knocked to the infield, and drawn back to turn number 3 by Killerella. Sriracha just absorbing these hits, but does come into Lightning Striker. That'll bring us to the conclusion of our first half. 96 points put up by the NF Bombs. 43 go to the Eves of Destruction. Don't go too far. We'll be back in just under 15 minutes. Go check out vendors, go refill your waters or respective beverages, and come back to see second half of the Bombs versus Eves. All right, we're just about ready to get underway with the second half of NF Bombs versus Eves of Destruction. I am Sonia Blade, and this is Flat Track Fever 2025, just in case you weren't tracking. I think everyone is, though. Joe Means Joe and Goose, our first jammers of record. Penalty box currently sitting empty, so we're at the full 5-on-5 derby action. Joe Means Joe is at the top of the pack. Eves of Destruction putting up a fearsome 3-wall. Joe picking off blockers one by one and does get lead advantage for the NF Bombs in this first jam. Goose getting bumped to the outside and will be escorted all the way behind that full mobility chiropractic jam line. Joe hitting that formation from the Eves. Rennie trying to move in to split the blockers apart just a little bit, but they are able to lock down on Joe just as they come around turn number 2. Rennie moving in that wrecking ball fashion. Looks like it is the Frenzy and Wife of Wrath, their last lines of defense. Not going to make this easy for Joe to acquire these points, but Joe working for every single step along this far straightaway as we approach turn number 3. Goose now removing the star, but NF Bombs absolutely locking down on Goose. Goose getting a little bump to that outfield, but able to get in quickly enough to not get that run back. Looks like Buns reporting to our genuine penalty box for that maneuver. Joe Means Joe coming back into the pack, securing 3 points on that pass for a grand total of 7, I believe. Yes, 7 points going to the NF Bombs in jam number 1 of the second half. 1 blocker for the NF Bombs in our penalty box, so slight pack advantage will go to the Eves of Destruction for this next jam. You're going to see Charlie Hurst squaring off against Mac Daddy at our Full Mobility Chiropractic jam line. Charlie Hurst dancing up that outside line. Beautiful footwork. And it looks like Mac Daddy being sent to our genuine penalty box, so power jam goes to the Eves of Destruction. Charlie Hurst trying that dancing on the outside line once again, but is bumped out, looked like by Rip. Quick to get back into the fray. Eves of Destruction keeping that pack definition at the back with them. One of the coveted lines of defense during a power jam. Charlie Hurst just absorbing these hits and dancing through on those toe stops once again. Gets through for the full 4-point pass. Mac Daddy now with fresh legs out with the initial pass for the NF Bombs. Charlie Hurst hitting that pack and I think called it off mid-air. That is not an easy feat to accomplish. Eves of Destruction picking up 8 points in that jam, bringing their score up to 51 to the NF Bombs 103. Currently nobody in our genuine sponsored penalty box, so full 5 versus 5. But not before a quick official timeout. I shouldn't lie, it might not be quick. Don't forget to check out Calgary Gumballs from Calgary Super Leagues Ball Hockey. The women's division of Super Leagues Calgary, this team has won the opportunity to compete at the C Nationals this summer and earning the silver at C Provincials last year. This is the first year that the women get the opportunity to compete at this level at the CBHA Nationals tournament, a division only offered to the men until now. You'll find a fundraising game at their table to help support them in their travels. Make sure you stop by and show your support. Looks like we're just checking around the track for debris, possibly doing some track maintenance, keeping our skaters nice and safe. That outside tape line might have been tripping up a few of our skaters at the conclusion of that last jam, so our refs moving in to help tape that down, keep everyone nice and safe. Don't forget to visit the Chinook merch table where you can place a bid to pie a player. The players available to get pied are Craftermath, Side Dish, and Murderous Muffin. I believe that is happening on Sunday, where you get to literally just be a clown and throw a pie in someone's face. Or I don't know if you throw it. I think you might actually just kind of smush it in there. But hey, whatever floats your boat, I guess. Give a shout out to our officials for this game. We have Stitch Whipper, Summer Fling, Nerd Herder, Lizard Breath, Quacker Smack, Smarty McFly, Molly Golightly, Dubs and Roses, Sinead O'Bronner. And we are heading into jam number 3, Smash and Dash, squaring off against Soda Pressed. Soda getting knocked to that infield, bridged back to the top, turn number 4 by Toast and Jam. Smash and Dash pushing with all of our might, but Eves of Destruction holding strong as we come around turn number 1. Some fancy footwork by Smash and Dash does get them free. Soda Pressed, our lead jammer of record, taking a trip to that infield and opting to call that one off before Smash and Dash can do any damage. Quick hit it and quit it for jam number 3. One player currently in our genuine penalty box on the Eve side, so slight pack advantage goes to the NF Bombs. But as we saw in the first half, 1 or 2 skaters in the penalty box doesn't really seem to be a detriment. That's how strong these skaters are. Honeycruller and Sriracha are jammers of record. Sriracha trying to push this formation from the eaves to its out-of-play point. Beautiful work by Betty Davis Eyes, keeping these fellow skaters in play. Long bridge back on Honeycruller to the top of turn number 4. Bombs ready and waiting with the formation. Sriracha taking advantage of the whistle and blockers not wanting to incur more penalties to get lead for the Bombs. Sriracha almost free of that pack, but does take a tumble, and that is enough to force the recycle. NF Bombs wanting to play it safe with their penalties in this half. Fanny in the pack and Wife of Wrath, a dynamic duo here, keeping Sriracha at bay and do draw a penalty. So power scenario for the Eves of Destruction, who have now passed the star to Wife of Wrath. Wrath still with 2 left to be at the top of the pack, but that's Emski, Hammer, and Cakes, who are not going to make this pass so easy. Cakes with a knock to the outside, and does look like a cut track penalty will be called on the jammer for the Eves, as well as Emski Hammer. A little bit of a revolving door of penalties. And as Sriracha was standing in the penalty box, I believe that means that it might be just under 30 seconds for Wife of Wrath. Almost the full penalty, but not quite the full 30 seconds. Maybe like 28, 29. Sriracha taking a tough hit on that outside, but is back into the fray. And our jam comes to its natural 2-minute conclusion. Looks like it'll be 3 points picked up by the NF Bombs, bringing them up to an even 106. Eves of Destruction holding strong at 52 points. Wife of Wrath now standing in that penalty box, so that means a brief power start for the NF Bombs, who send out Joe Means Joe. Joe Means Joe trying to push these Eves blockers to the out-of-play point, but Eves absolutely locking down. In comes Emski Hammer to try and split up this formation. Joe Means Joe does get free of the pack. A brief tumble there. I think there might be an imaginary 5th blocker on the track, or just some really grippy parts or something. I just got flashed. Don't mind me. Joe Means Joe picking up points 1 by 1. Looks like our star has been passed. New jammer for the Eves will be Jerry Can. Jerry Can being held up by a formation from the NF Bombs. NF Bombs losing Emski Hammer to our genuine sponsored penalty box. Joe Means Joe, after a hard-fought fight along that straightaway, does pick up all 4 points and is poised to pick up a few more. Bombs making Jerry Can work for every inch on this track. Getting a little bump to that outfield there does give some room to work with. Both jammers behind some strong formations. Joe Means Joe does bust up that middle and secure another 4 points for the NF Bombs. Eve's doing some temporary offensive assistance on Jerry Can. Jerry Can being held up by Killarella, Rennie, and Rip along this back straightaway. Joe Means Joe coming up to turn number 3. Eve's not going to make this an easy pass, but a spin of the hips does get Joe free. 4 more added to the board. And we come to our natural 2-minute conclusion, a 12-point jam for the NF Bombs, who now sit at 118.
No worries. How's it going?
Looks like it'll be Goose versus Mac Daddy. Mac Daddy finds room to run on that outside. Picks up lead, but Goose hot on their trail. Pack now setting up. Oh, a quick drift to that outside line. Mac Daddy threw virtually unchallenged for a quick hit it and quit it as we head into jam number 7. Penalty box still sitting empty, so it will be full 5 versus 5 for the start of the next jam. Looks like an official timeout being called. Eves of Destruction able to pick up 1 point in that last jam, bringing them up to 53 to the NF Bombs 122. Still just over 19 minutes left here in the second half. Looks like it'll be Charlie Hurst donning the star for the Eves of Destruction versus Smash and Dash. Looks like our officials just doing some maintenance, whether it is to the track or to statistics, we don't know, but doing it while it's still fresh in their memories. I can't tell if the Bombs are raising their hands or just doing some yoga as they await the conclusion of this official timeout. After this, we will see the Rocky View team versus Calgary. I believe this is the junior game. Yes, that is the junior division, followed by the men's or open gender division. We will see the Glenmore Reservoir Dogs taking on the Calgary All-Stars. That'll be the conclusion of our day today, but don't worry, we still have 2 more full days of roller derby action. Saturday and Sunday, we're gonna have 2 tracks. That is twice the derby, twice the fun, twice the whistles. I'll give a shout out to our on-skates officials. That's our refs. We've got Genuine, Kurz, Jeftimus, Nomad, Mary Chaos, Otter Mayhem, and Hunky Dory. Those are your skating officials doing that beautiful work on those outsides and insides of the track. You know, the places where refs hang out. On to jam number 7, Charlie Hurst versus Smash and Dash. Charlie Hurst at the top of the pack, trying to push these bombs to their out-of-play limit. Bombs seeming to lock down just before turn number 1. Oh, and it looks like Charlie Hurst now reporting to our penalty box. That'll be a power jam scenario for Smash and Dash, who does pick up lead for the NF Bombs. Pack now picking up speed along the back straightaway. Smash and Dash back into the fray, getting a little bump out by number 505, Flawless. Pack at a standstill now at the top of that apex. Smash and Dash doing a little apex hop. Unfortunately, it does not quite stick the landing. Smash and Dash checking with the photographer to see. Oh no, you didn't get a photo of that, did you? Oh well, these things happen. Beautiful work on the bridge back there by the NF Bombs and Eves of Destruction. The Frenzy trying to get that last piece of Smash and Dash's speed, only holds her up for a brief second. Smash and Dash through for another 4 points. Charlie Hurst now back into the fray. Charlie Hurst ducking low, so low that they met the ground just for a brief second. That does allow the star to break free for the Eves of Destruction. Smash and Dash taking that opportunity to call that jam to its conclusion. Looks like 2 points will be added to that total, bringing them up 10 points for that last jam. Soda Press donning the star for the Eves of Destruction versus Sriracha. Sriracha getting knocked to that outside bridge back to the top of the apex by the Eves of Destruction. Putting up a solid formation. Sriracha now taking a trip to that inside and bridge back once again. Soda Press at the top of the pack, but the Bombs are not going to make this an easy lead advantage to acquire. Soda Press now picking off blockers one by one as this pack slowly gets stretched out along the straightaway. Bombs trying to answer back with a bridge back of their own. Not quite as far as the Eves that time, but now it seems like we're going to take turns with the bridge backs. Sriracha quick to get to the back of that pack and recycle before Eves can bring them back too far. Taking a trip to that infield again as a lead is awarded to Soda Press after a hard-fought 55 seconds. Sriracha getting bumped to that infield and manages to dodge the refs, who are doing a beautiful job tracking this gameplay. Taking a trip to the infield once again, and the Eves with the bridge backed all the way to turn number 4, right behind that full mobility chiropractic jam line. Soda Press getting caught up in the fray here. Little jersey assist will get Sriracha free with the star for the initial pass. Soda Press fighting furiously, does secure all 4 points and calls it to a conclusion. That'll bring Eves of Destruction total up to 57 points. NF Bombs sitting at 132. We still got 15 and a half minutes left in this second half. Bit of a dynamic start for the NF Bombs as they line up at that Bad Girlfriend skate shop pivot line. Joe Means Joe with the star for the Bombs. Eves of Destruction, 2 left to beat at the top of that pack. That'll be a Flawless. And number 452, the Frenzy, the last line of defense. Lead does go to the NF Bombs just as Honey Crueler knocked to the outfield. Bridge back by Emsky Hammer. Joe now coming up against Bazooka Langley this time, only managing to get a piece of that speed away. Joe Means Joe does emerge with the full 4 points. Assessing the situation, sees Honey Crueler step in step and opts to call that one to a conclusion. 4 points will do it for jam number 9. Our penalty box currently sitting empty. It'll be the full 5 versus 5 for our next jam, where we will see Mac Daddy against Goose. Goose quick to get to the top of that pack where the NF bombs are ready and waiting with a 4-wall formation. Now 3-wall supported by a bridge. It's like a forearm penalty being assessed, so NF bombs will be temporarily down 1 blocker. Beautiful spin move by Mac Daddy will secure lead advantage, and Goose finds room to run on that inside line, only about a half track behind Mac Daddy. Bodies hitting the floor as Mac Daddy gets bumped to that outfield. Goose taking a bit of a tumble courtesy of Dame and will bridge themselves back just to play it safe. Able to re-enter quickly enough that the bombs don't do that brutal run back. I mean, not beautiful. I guess it's beautiful if you're on that team. Eves picking up 3 points in that jam, bringing him up to 60. NF bombs sitting at 140. Jerry Can donning the star next for the Eves of Destruction. Smash and dash for the bombs as we head into jam number 11. Both blocking contingents doing a beautiful job here along this back straightaway, keeping things nice and slow. Obviously not what the jammers like, but hey, that's the way you play the game. Jerry Can working for every single foot of progress around this track, getting bumped to that outside. Jerry Can now on a power jam, smash and dash, currently in our genuine penalty box. Eves losing their pivot to our genuine sponsored penalty box. Jerry Can squaring off against Emski Hammer. Emski is escorting Jerry Can into that formation from the NF bombs. Smash and dash. Now with fresh legs, getting bumped to the outside by Champagne and bridged the long way back by number 4, Terminator. Dash getting bumped to the infield, and it looks like it'll be Terminator with the bridge back right behind that full mobility chiropractor jam line just to start things over again. Still no lead established here in jam number 11. We might go the full 2 minutes. Looks like Jerry Can opting to remove that star, plot out their next move, but taking a bump to that infield courtesy of Rip. So I think we will go the full 2 minutes for this jam, which is only 20 seconds left. Star temporarily falling. Jerry Can now being held up at the back of that pack. Eve of destruction, bombs taking away every ounce of space. Beautiful star pass to Bazooka Langley, managing to dodge hits from the NF bombs and does get the star free just as the jam is called. NF bombs adding 5 points to their total, bringing them up to 145. Eves of Destruction holding strong at 60. Looks like the NF bombs are going to be calling an official review. I will bring you those details as soon as they are available. like body's taking a tumble there, so best to call things off, keep everyone nice and safe, and start over again. The official review from that last jam, the NF bombs were looking for an illegal star pass to be assessed to the Eves of Destruction. The refs determined that the star pass was done correctly, so the no call will stand. NF bombs will not retain their review. I can't quite tell if it was an injury or an equipment issue at the end of that jam, but thank you to our medics and staff taking great care of our skaters. It does look like the jammer for the Eves of Destruction currently in that penalty box, so it'll be a power start for the NF bombs, who are sending out Sriracha with the star. Blocker is setting up camp at that Bad Girlfriend Skates pivot line. That gave Sriracha a bit of room to run. Bombs trying to keep that pack definition at the back with them, but Eves Blocker is able to get back, rejoin their friends on the track. Beautiful work by Tombstone, being the last line of defense against Sriracha. Unfortunately, will be sent to our sponsored penalty box for that maneuver, but you know what? Sometimes it's worth it. Sriracha trying to split the difference between the Eves blockers, does step out of bounds just enough to force that recycle, but does get through and put 4 points on the board. Soda Press, now with fresh legs, is free of that pack with the initial pass. Sriracha, firing on all cylinders, manages to outrun Lightning Striker and calls it off just in the nick of time. Looks like it is all smiles from Fanny in the pack as they leave the track. Hey, that rhymed. 8 points picked up by the NF Bonds, bringing them up to 153 against the Eves, 60 points. Honey Crueler donning the star for the Eves in this next jam up against Joe Means Joe. Betty Davis Eyes trying to split this defensive maneuver from the Eves up enough for Joe to get free, but the Eves just seem to rotate right around that offense. Joe Means Joe now with one left to beat at the top of the pack. The frenzy there, that last line of defense. Honey Crueler now free of the pack with the initial, about a half track behind. Pack starting to move a bit backwards here. That's a shorter distance for those jammers to travel. Joe hitting the pack and calling it to a conclusion. That'll be one additional point to the NF Bombs total. Looks like we've got Jerry Can with a star for the Eves and Mac Daddy for the Bombs. A matchup we've seen once or twice in this game. Mac Daddy at the top of the pack manages to outstep the pivot for the Eves of Destruction. Jerry Can getting bumped to the outside just as the star was removed. Almost a successful pass, but does recycle to play it safe. And the star pass does occur on that inside line. Beautiful pass by the Eves of Destruction. Fanny in the pack now, our jammer for the Eves of Destruction. Mac Daddy picking up all 4 points and calling it to a conclusion before the Eves can do any damage in jam number 15. They'll have to wait until jam number 16. Sending out, looks like Goose with the star. Facing Smash and Dash for the Bombs. About 5.5 minutes left in the second half of this game. And if you haven't had enough derby for today, don't worry. We've got junior game and the open division following this one. Goose, quick to get to the top of the pack, hops over the hips of Bellicose Blonde and does secure lead advantage for the Eves of Destruction. Smash and dash, fighting her way through this pack. Does get knocked out by Champagne, and it'll be bridged back the long way, almost to that full mobility chiropractic jam line. One left to beat for Goose along turn number 2, and Goose emerges victorious. 4 more points going to the Eves total. Sneaky star stash on behalf of the Bombs gets a star free, courtesy of a smash and dash. Goose taking that opportunity to bring the jam to a conclusion. 1 additional point in that second pass for a grand total of 65 points. NF Bombs still holding strong at 158. Soda Press taken to the full mobility chiropractic jam line for the Eves of Destruction, and Sriracha for the NF Bombs. Sriracha hugging those respective inside and outside lines, but the Eves are quick enough to form right in front at the top of that pack. Soda Press fighting with all of their might, picking off blockers one by one. Little tumble of bodies. And it does look like Soda Press heading to our penalty box, joined by the pivot for the Eves of Destruction. Power jam scenario goes to NF Bombs as Sriracha comes back into the fray. Bombs taking on blockers, making that a nice, easy pass for Sriracha that time. Sriracha doing a little side surf move around that outside line, and on 1 foot gets past the last line of defense from Terminator. Soda Breast eager to get back into this fray. Bombs ready and waiting with the formation. Eves slowly getting to the top of the pack one by one. Unfortunately, the no pack call does force the Eves to let Sriracha go with another 4 points. Oh, and the dynamic blocker jammer duo for the Eves does look like they're reporting back to the penalty box. That'll leave 2 rock stars out there. Looks like it is Lightning Striker and Fanny in the pack. Sorry, also Terminator. Sriracha getting through for 4 points, and Soda Pressed, fresh off their penalty, gets through for that initial. Bit of a skater ref collision there, but looks like everybody is back up and good to go. It is a huge jam for the NF Bombs, picking up 16 points. Just over 2 minutes left in this game. Sorry, in the second half. I guess that is the game. Sorry, that was a 19-point jam, so that'll bring him up to 177. Honey Crueler with the star for the Eves of Destruction. Joe Means Joe fighting her way through that pack. Last line of defense was Champagne. Lead advantage going to the NF Bombs. Honey Crueler still fighting with all of their might. Getting to the top of the pack. The Frenzy moving in to try and split apart these blockers from the Bombs. Clears that inside line. Beautiful offensive assist by the Eves of Destruction. Honey Crueler getting through for that initial just as Joe puts 4 in the pocket and calls it to a conclusion. Looks like Eves are going to call themselves a team timeout. So we will have time for at least one more jam in this game. I say at least because you never know. They always find a way to get one more jam. Everybody always wants one more jam. Looks like one blocker for the NF bombs in our Genuine sponsored penalty box. So Eves will have a slight pack advantage as we head into jam number 19. Everybody's all smiles, though. This is definitely a hard-fought game on both sides, but always smiles is what we like to see. That rolling whistle is usually a good sign that we are about to get back into the action. It'll be Lightning Striker with the star. Oh, taking a little tumble along the straightaway. Bellicose Blonde, the lone blocker. One left to beat for Lightning Striker. Oh. Getting knocked to that outside. Bombs with the bridge back, but not too far. Smash and dash, fighting along this far straightaway. One left to beat, but Eves making it an absolute grinder for Smash and Dash to work through in this pack. Bodies all over the floor. Looks like our star has been passed. Our new jammer record for the Eves of Destruction will be Tombstone. Smash and Dash getting instructions from the bench to keep this jam going. Hey, it's the last jam, why not? Tombstone does get through. 4 points go on the board for the Eves of Destruction, bringing them up to a nice score of 69. Nice. Smash and Dash looking calm, cool, and collected as she approaches that pack, unchallenged along that inside line. Picks up a 4 points, looks to the bench for instructions, and will call that off. That will be the game here for game number 3. NF Bombs, unofficial score 193, Eves of Destruction 73. We'll just wait for our officials to dot the T's, cross the I's, make sure everything is in order before making things officially official. Hard-fought game by both sides. And if you haven't had enough derby action, up next we've got the junior teams from Rocky View and Calgary, followed by our open division, the Glenmore Reservoir Dogs and the Calgary All-Stars. That whistle means things are officially official. Coming on down trackside, get your free high fives from these amazing athletes. They have worked so hard for the last hour plus. I don't know how long it was exactly. That does make our score official. 193 for the Bombs, 73 for the Eves of Destruction. Thank you for listening. I have been Blade. And you will get to hear Evil Ash and Dubs and Roses for your next 2 games. Don't go too far. We've got lots more derby action coming at ya.